There, Michelle Dewberry, and with you till 7. The parliamentary sketch writer at the Daily Mail, Quentin Letts, is alongside me, as is the author and the journalist Ella Whelan. I told you all to sit down. I've got big news, very important stuff that I need to declare to you today. And it was the front page of the Telegraph newspaper. Are you sitting comfortably? Let's have a look at it. This is today's. Are you ready? Sex is a biological fact, says the NHS. Well, look, I took the liberty, if it all goes wrong at GB News, I took the liberty of mocking up tomorrow's front page for the Telegraph look. There you go. Water is wet. Don't let it ever be said that I am not scientific with my details, everybody. Joking aside, Ella Whelan, the story today was that the NHS are now saying that they have this constitution, basically, which is about how staff and patients get treated. And now what they want to build into this, previously, in 2021, they essentially said that when you go into the hospital, you should be respected on the gender that you identify as. Now, what they're saying, that all of that should be essentially replaced with the fact that sex is biological and you should be treated as such, i.e. if you're a female, you're in a female ward, and vice versa.
Yeah, it seems like the most basic of common sense. And we can laugh at it, and it is stupid, and it is funny because this is so ridiculous. But there is a serious undertone to this, which is that the NHS is meant to be an institution based in science, reason, fact and trust. You're meant to be able to trust that doctors, nurses and the administration that runs around the NHS knows exactly what it's doing and is doing the best for its patients. And this interjection in 2021 of sort of the gender wars coming into the NHS and the nonsense that you would have people who are men, who are biologically male, but say they are trans women sleeping or indeed being treated in women-only wards or things like that, that was a reality that could have happened was, I think, an atrocious overstep and a sort of politicisation of an institution that wasn't necessary. You know, there's the safety question to this. There's also sort of just a privacy and dignity question to this. It's bad enough having to share a ward with other women, you know, all doing you know, walking around in a gown with your backside hanging out. It would be unconscionable to ask women to do that if they knew that there was a man in the bed next to them. So there's, I think you know, the other element of this is if the NHS doesn't know that sex is biological, in fact, how has it been, you know, administering blood tests, treating people for cancer, doing all the stuff that you need to do? They knew this already. They were lying when they said that they didn't in 2021.
Quentin?
I think it just shows that elite you were talking about has quite a few nut jobs in it. That this has to be reasserted. Doctors given biology lesson and not liking it either. Not liking it. There's some pushback from the NHS Confederation on this. A man called Matthew Taylor is quoted in the copy, and he's saying, "Oh, you know, this is just culture wars, and we need to avoid this at a time of political approaching election." It doesn't say, though. It does not say. In the story, it doesn't point out that Matthew Taylor used to be a Labour Party spin doctor. I'd have thought that might have been a relevant fact. This is all to do with the NHS constitution. I didn't even know that the NHS had a constitution, some sort of legal document. And it's every 10 years they look at the NHS constitution, they try to work out whether this great document has to be altered. I mean, why do we just use common sense instead of an NHS constitution?
Well, because
maybe it's because of the lawyers, I know.
Well, no, because campaign groups and lobbying groups really successfully infiltrated all aspects of public life, from schools to healthcares to the legal proceedings, and they've been very successful. I can tell you now, there's a joint statement that was issued. It won't surprise you to know that not everybody was happy about this. This statement was issued by a collection of Gendered Intelligence, the Kite Trust, Mermaid, Stonewall, LGBT Foundation, so on and so forth. They say everyone deserves timely access to holistic, high-quality healthcare and to be treated with dignity, privacy and respect throughout their treatment and care. They go on to say that trans, non-binary and intersex people face already significant barriers and inequality when accessing NHS care, and they go on to point out that this is a consultation which closes on the 25th of June, and they want everyone to get involved and make their feelings known about that. They are very concerned about it.
I think that there's a real terrible slandering of NHS staff going on in responses like that. There's this sort of picture painted that before the NHS made its pronouncements on being, you know, gender non-binary or having, you know, gender-neutral language and things like that, that every nurse and doctor that ever saw a trans person was horrible and didn't respond to them and didn't call them what they wanted. That just isn't the case, that we do not have some kind of pandemic of transphobic staff in the NHS. So if I was an NHS staff worker, I feel really aggrieved at that picture that's being painted. But there's also a sort of, there has to be a reckoning with reality here, which is that if you are a trans patient going into access care in the NHS, there is a difference between you being treated with dignity like anyone else and, the name that you have being used and all the rest of it, which staff already do. But then when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of where you will sleep on a ward or what blood test you will be given, what treatment you are being given, you have to come to reckoning with the reality that is that you are either male or female in a biological sense, no matter what you might call yourself. And I think we have to get more honest with people to say that's something you're going to have to face up to in the limited circumstances of healthcare. Let's help you deal with it, rather than living in this fantasy that biological sex doesn't ever matter at all.
Well, there you go. What do you make to it all? I find it absolutely bonkers. Your thoughts, get in touch, gbviews@gbnews.com, or go onto the website and talk to me at Your Say. Lots coming up. Don't go anywhere.